beautiful. What's up, dudes and dudettes? My name's Seth, and today we're gonna be taking a first look at Portal Knights. Not to be confused with Portal, you know, don't think with portals, the cake is a lie and stuff like that. This game is actually a voxel adventure game that is extremely cool. I actually had no idea about this game. I want to give a shout out to my man, Jay Reed, who actually randomly was like, talking about this game, and well, one step down the rabbit hole and suddenly I became a fan and I got this game immediately. Now I'm kind of rushing this first look. I just want to say rushing its release, I should say, because let's actually create a new character right here. We'll go to my this guy is obviously like 5 hours in, so I'll kind of swap to him a little bit later in the video just so I can show you a little bit of the progression after a total of 6 hours. But I'm trying to rush this video because I want to point out that right now this game is on sale and it's like 13 bucks, at least Canadian, and seriously, man, this game is well worth it. So of course, for the customization, you can choose a male or female. For the most part, this only determines the hairstyle and the eyes, as far as I know. I don't know if there's anything else that comes into play, and I think even when you're customizing your character, you can give your male character these same female features. And then we got 3 classes in the game. We got a melee character, we got archer, and then we got a mage. Now the mage is extremely fantastically awesome. I'm probably going to start a series of this game. I'm just gonna say, like a let's play series, and I'm gonna play as the mage. But for the sake of today, we're gonna play as the warrior because he's the one that I know the best. And the customization is great, albeit very, very subtle. You know, like there's not that much you can do to it. The characters kind of really remind me of Mii characters from the Wii, like Nintendo console and stuff, but obviously with a little bit more detail and stuff like that. So you can end up getting your character to look pretty cool, although he also kind of looks a little bit generic too. Very much like a 3D version of Maple Story characters. We're just gonna give him this afro right here. Well, I guess we'll just go through all of them just so I can show you. I'll just kind of skim through them. See, there's the girl's haircut. This guy is a ponytail. I guess it's supposed to be a girl again. Nice wavy hair, dude. Yes. Let's also give him a big, beautiful, no. Yes. Let's make Watson. Where's a good haircut for Watson? Where's Watson? Fine, Warrior Watson instead. We can also dye his hair color. All sorts of different colors, which is great that they do not limit you to one specific type, so we can actually take and rock the red hair like I got going on. And then you go to his ears, you can change how they look. You know, one piercing in the left like a pirate, bones through them, double piercings, big goofy ears and bigger goofier ears, which he needs clearly to you know, hear the distance and stuff like that. And we can change our character to all sorts of colors, although it doesn't seem like I was gonna say that there should have been a green color or something, but anyway, let's go with the beautiful tanness, beautifulness. My goodness. And then his eye shape, we can make him look, oh, now he's an angry Watson. Let's take that. Let's also give him, we can give him green. Yellow eyes looks really, really good with that complexion. Oh, evil eyes. We could also change his mouth, which it doesn't seem like it's gonna show up past his mustache, so that's okay. And then we can also change his voice. Well, you can't really hear it, but either way, it's just a male and female. So let's just hop right in, create character name, Firsty, because he's a first look guy, right? So now that we've actually created our character, we can go into our settings at any time. I just want to point this out because this is very important, and I'm sorry, I know we haven't gotten into the gameplay just yet, but all of this stuff is actually really, really cool, man. Like, you can actually set it so you can go to a private world yourself, just with your Steam friends, or a local with anyone on your local network. I guess so you could end up playing with your friends or your brother or something like that, sister, mother, cousin, everybody. And then the other thing too, I want to point this out because this is very, very cool. Not only can you end up joining your friends, like your Steam friends, just by going through Steam, even in the game, and it's extremely stable. You could go to join local friends. No, let's go to Friends Network. Oh, nobody I know is playing this game right now. But either way, you could actually just double click, join your friend's world at any time. There you go, bada bing, bada boom, you are done. But for right now, let's actually set our world to private. You can always change the settings at any time. This is Universe 1. This is the main world that I already kind of have unlocked, as you can kind of see with the map, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So in the meantime, I'm actually going to create a new world right here that is default called Universe 2. I'm guessing that you can have 3, maybe more files. I'm not exactly sure. For most of this story, though, because it already took us long enough to actually get into the game, we're just gonna skip it. It's talking about like the world being split apart and kind of into different I'm scared. Peaceful hills. Oh, that sounds nice. Beautiful. Yeah, man, look at this game. See? I hope you all got hyped. I know it took us like 5 years to actually get into the game. Goodness gracious. But the game itself, man, like this is fantastic. Not only is it absolutely beautiful, but even for an early access game, it's very, very stable. That's one thing I do gotta say. So for this main area right here, you can actually see those suns, let's call them, are actually showing us some of the quests and instructions that we're supposed to do. So right now they're trying to tell us, walk around with WASD, use the spacebar to jump, open your backpack with B. You can also see all the other hotkeys right here. V is for all your armor on your character. C is for your level of your character and stuff. N is for personal crafting. However, most of this stuff, like if we look at, okay, we can't do anything yet. But most of them, it will say, like if you click on it, it'll say needs a workbench, needs a furnace, in case you end up having a recipe unlocked but don't necessarily have the recipe like immediately available. And also, as we're starting out our characters, we always seem to spawn with these pioneer items. Now, I'm not sure if these have to do with the fact that we're buying this game early access. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, I don't know. But either way, a free cape is always a nice thing. Where's our beautiful cape? Yeah, look at that. Isn't that the coolest cape you've ever seen? And the fact that it's got great VFX and it's all shiny and gorgeous. So anyway, press the middle mouse button to switch between third, and first person. Now, one thing I do gotta say about first person is you are going to be switching between third and first person, especially when you end up going into tunnels and stuff like that. But generally, I like playing in third person because I find that the combat can be fairly disorienting if you're playing in first person, especially as a melee fighter, because there's a ton of VFX going on while you're in the face of an enemy. Attack an enemy with your weapon. So we can actually, all Zelda-like, we could actually select this enemy by looking at him with our cursor and right-clicking. Now we are pretty much in Z targeting. So we are actually only going to be engaging with this one enemy type. We can rotate the camera, get all cinematic and stuff, and we can run around and dodge and everything. Left click to attack, and of course, as a melee fighter, we've actually got quite a bit of knockback, but that ends up changing dependent on the weapon. So you kind of just wander around and dodge the enemy a little bit. It's really, really good if you can lock an enemy against a wall, because then you can just wreck them like crazy. The other thing too is while we're actually locked on, are they actually telling us, yes, press space in any direction and we can roll. One thing I do gotta say is the controls actually take a little bit to get used to because they're kind of sticky, because your character has to finish his attack animation before you can start dodging. So you kind of gotta get used to that. It's not like some hardcore Devil May Cry combat system where you can dodge right like in the middle of an attack animation or anything. So also, as we were killing these enemies, we are getting blue crystal shards, but we'll get into that in a minute because right now it wants us to go around and complete these various quests, right? The other thing too I want to mention is that there are of course tons and tons of different biomes and stuff like that, and we'll talk a little bit more about the progression of the overall game a little bit further on. But go over to these signs, look out, you can come up here and get a better view of things. Of course, normally depth of field is on, where stuff in the background is kind of faded. I will actually just show you that right here, because turning the settings on and off is very, very convenient and easy. So you can see a little bit of the background. It does definitely look nicer, but I like the ability of being able to see stuff in the distance. And while we're at it, I just want to show you all too, like you see all the grass and stuff like that. If you're the type that doesn't really like that much foliage, you can just turn the scatter objects off, but now the game looks fairly plain, doesn't it? However, the one advantage of this is you can clearly see the wheat, and there will also be like a little bit later on, there's gonna be like you know, carrots, potatoes, and stuff like that. So you can always turn the scatter objects off just so that you can get a better handle of like what is an actual plant that you can, you know, collect and stuff like that. By the way, there's no fall damage, which is fantastic. And as we go into here, they're trying to tell us, repair the broken crafting table. So you go into the crafting table, we need 4 wood. Rip! We don't have 4 wood, so we gotta go and chop down a little bit of a tree right here, which, oh my goodness, these trees are beautiful. So a sword, of course, is not ideal for chopping stuff down. And as you can see, we are actually losing durability for every single swing that we do. But not to worry, repairing your gear is very, very easy. And even if your gear ends up getting to 0 durability, it just makes it weaker. It doesn't break and delete out of your inventory forever, which is fantastic because especially later on, it starts getting really, really difficult to craft some stuff. But as you can see right here, those are some of the advantages of actually using weapons. And another thing too that's actually fantastic about this game is the fact that, whoops, okay, is the fact that you can actually steal props from the world. Yeah, oh no, come here, there, beautiful. So, of course, there are like recipes and stuff like that that you'll end up gathering from dungeons, which will unlock like certain types of weapons and stuff like that that might not normally be attainable in the world. But the fact that you can steal props, I just find that fantastic because I compared this game very, very closely to SKYSAGA, and SKYSAGA is more leaning towards Minecraft, whereas this game is more leaning towards like Trove or Cube World and kind of the more adventure aspect of these voxel games, and that makes it right up my alley. The fact that we can go into dungeons and steal different resources is just, I mean, I love the exploration stuff like that. So anyway, we can upgrade the crafting table, which is actually just turning it into a normal crafting table. Craft a squire waistcoat at the crafting bench. So if we go down here, our squire waistcoat, which of course costs 2 cotton cloth, going down the daisy chain, you know, go down the fence. Are either of those sayings? I don't think so. But either way, we just gotta go and collect a little bit of cotton. So there is a little bit of, I guess, resource gathering. I was going to say survival aspect, but not really. I mean, the survival aspect only comes into play with the difficulty of this game, which it does end up getting, does end up getting a bit difficult later on. So we can craft all of them at once, and as you can see, some items, not all of them, will actually be waiting right here for you to grab them. Now, this is very important because if you're playing with friends, as far as I can tell, I could be dead wrong about this, there is not really any way for you to share items with your friends outside of dumping them in a chest and then having the other person grab it, because you can't drop stuff. You can only put it in your trash can, and this trash can kind of operates the same as Terraria, where you can actually pull stuff out of it, but if we put something in the trash can, close our inventory, and come back, it's just gone forever. So that, as far as I know, is the only way of actually getting rid of items outside of just putting them in storage. So anyway, any one of your friends could come to this crafting table and take this from you. So be very careful to only play with people that are trusted, because there is absolutely no way right now to prevent people from doing like some hardcore griefing or anything like that, right? So another thing too that's kind of convenient, you can swap from all the other different menus and stuff like that while still having the crafting menu available. So let's actually craft ourselves the squire waistcoat, and I think it also wants us, yeah, it wants us to get the stone pick, but we'll get into that in a little bit because we're not actually there yet. So we can actually select, didn't even follow my own advice. See, I'm not even in the habit of grabbing things out of the crafting table, but either way, now we've got some spiffy new armor, and a little bit later on, you know, the armor ends up becoming a lot more beefy, but it also becomes a lot more difficult to craft as you kind of continue down. So it's telling us to place, oops, whoopsie daisy. Place some refined wood blocks so that we can start building a little bit. Now, this is a good point because the building is a little bit confusing at first. It definitely takes a little while to get used to because, as you can see right there, like, it's very, very easy to end up making mistakes. And I think that's because, unfortunately, like, you see that little preview block, it's wrong. You know, like, the way that the building seems to work is actually more so to Minecraft, where you have to be looking at the edge of this block, but you can see that these blocks themselves are not exactly the most square, and Well, it's not that they're the most square, it's that the preview block, as you can see, is a bit too tiny, so you can't really tell where the line is between the block and selecting the next spot, right? So, I don't know, just for myself personally, I find it very confusing sometimes, but here's something that's absolutely baller. If you end up looking straight down, boop, 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 we can actually just go straight up, and the faster you tap to, it makes you build up a little bit faster, but you don't have to jump around like an idiot and plant the blocks underneath you. Now again, this thatch is actually kind of difficult to craft, so you can steal it and use it accordingly. But anyway, now they're trying to tell us to go down here, and they want us to mine some of this stone, and they're trying to introduce us to the mining aspect. And as you can see right there, that is one advantage of using the sword, is because it swings, you can actually gather more than one resource at a time. Now, a little bit later on, of course, there are different tools that do end up having those abilities, but right now, I think we can just craft this. Yeah, we can just craft this on our own person right now, and that means that it's just gonna instantly go into our inventory. And then, of course, the digging is just 1, 2, 3, and as we end up getting to the next pick, it's just 2 whacks with it to break the blocks. But overall, like, the mining is not nearly as difficult as some other voxel games and stuff, and this is actually a loot chest right here, so we will break that, get ourselves a couple healing potions and such. The healing potions, which we can't actually use right now, I'll get hit by this enemy just so I can see it. Come on, Slimo. So you drink a healing potion, and you can see down at the bottom there is a little bit of a cooldown. Now, there is scrolls in this game. If you're not a mage, because the mage ends up getting most of these spells for themselves, but if you're not a mage, you can end up actually getting a scroll, like let's say a scroll of healing, for example. The scroll is an instacast, and it doesn't have a cooldown like the potions. That's the difference, and you can use the scroll as any of the classes, kind of like Diablo 1, so that was very nostalgic for me when I ended up seeing that. So, seems like we actually completed both of those. We didn't complete the one where they want us to check on the lookout, even though we did. Oh, I see. It's also trying to show us there is the basement, and as you can see too, I just wanted to point this out, that the nighttime, although dark, is not like the most, oh, I'm gonna have to remember to edit that invite out. The nighttime is not as dark and brutal as it should be in most other games. Well, as it should be. I hate the nighttime in games. I really, really do. Like, it's ridiculous. But that said, you can end up going into dungeons like we will down here. Woo! No fall damage. I love it. We can come down into here, and oh, well, it's kind of lit up. There's a skeleton King Leoric, but well, I'll kind of show you after we end up killing this guy, if I can manage it right now. It's still a little bit slow right now. But if we actually get rid of these torches, I love the way that the fire looks. It's absolutely beautiful, isn't it? Like, look at that. Excuse also, I hope it doesn't show up in the recording, but the heat actually in my house just came on in real life because I'm in Canada and it's cold. Anyway, pull out your torch, and as you can see, it actually lights up a fair bit. One thing that I do want to mention is that you do not actually see the light source of your friends. So nobody else would see this light source except for me, unless we end up plopping the torch down on the ground. But I want to keep that with us right now because it's very, very handy. So, of course, they're trying to show us here's a loot chest. Grab the loot, and then it's also trying to tell us, oh, rather than building a staircase, you can press M at any time, and just press this, and you'll actually warp, woo, right back to the spawn point. Because this map right here, although it may seem small, there's tons of these maps, because as we end up going through a next portal, we'll go into the next area, then we'll go into the next area, and then that area splits off with 2 different portals that can end up coming back together or end up splitting off to another area. Now, another thing too that's very, very fancy is if we actually click on it, you can see all the different enemy types, all the different fauna, and all of the different ore for that said area, as well as the different portals and whether or not you've activated them. So it's very, very cool, and I love the fact that it keeps track of all this stuff. While we are actually on that topic, I do want to say that this game does not end up having any spells for aggro or anything like that as a warrior, but in fact is very, very cool and very, very intuitive, because let's say there's an archer down there fighting enemies. as soon as we end up coming down and getting in proximity, all these enemies are going to just start targeting us because we're the warrior and we take aggro like that. So very, very cool. I love the fact that it does that. Get out of here. What are you doing? Speaking of aggro, I didn't expect you guys to follow me to Kingdom Come. Get wrecked. Shreked. So anyway, we're picking up these blue portal stones from the enemies. Eventually later on, stronger enemies will drop different stones and stuff like that. But right now, we are only dealing with the blue portal, and I've only gotten as far as the yellow portal. So anyway, let's craft a bunch of these right now, and these are actually a placeable block. So this is kind of like the same as a obsidian portal in Minecraft, except we're actually placing the portal blocks. Now, you can place these portal blocks anywhere. However, if it's not in the portal zone area, it ends up despawning and you gotta repick it up. Now, this beautiful portal, which is just gorgeous, I know it's nighttime, which is a bit annoying, is going to actually teleport us to the next island and therefore the next biome. Oh my goodness, now the black portal of death. Oh, Dusty Mountain. Level 2 zone with level 2 enemies and stuff, and it seems like the nighttime carried over. Darn. So at nighttime, you can kind of see those dudes right there. They're actually extremely OP for the beginning of the game. I would not recommend fighting them at all. They're very, very tricky, and when they hit you, they actually cause a bit of a burning effect on you. Don't know if you end up getting cool stuff like that as a melee fighter. It would be fantastic if you ended up getting a fire sword later in the game, but I have not seen one for... Well, I haven't seen one yet, but either way, now we're in a desert area, and once again, just to kind of get my point across, different enemy type, different fauna, and different ore. Now we can actually access copper ore and raw electro quartz. The quartz are actually for mages rather than being for a warrior. Warriors are going to be using a lot of copper and mostly using hides, like what is it called? I think it's like skin from enemies and stuff. You got mostly like just kill a bunch of stuff to actually level up and get stronger. As we end up leveling up, which we might not end up getting to do that today, we will actually get a little bit of a check mark bar right here where we just click it and it'll automatically associate our stats to us. Ooh, so there is a speed stat. I guess archers would probably end up getting that, right? And then there's, of course, the talents or perks section where increased strength by 30% for the warrior, unlocked at level 2. And then once we get to level 5, we get Stone Eater, which increases mining damage by 15%, or Mining Elegance, which decreases the durability lost while mining. So the other thing that's kind of cool about this is rather than like going through your levels and let's say you want to unlock this and this, no, it's actually a choice. You can have either of these active at one time, but you can only have one of them active at a time, right? So when we come to stuff like this, no choice, no choice. Here we got a little bit of a choice, increase intelligence. I don't know why you would want to do that as a warrior. Maybe at level 20 you'll end up getting spells. I'm not there yet. Or you can get increased agility by 25%. And then of course the end, like level 30 must be the maximum at this point in time. So thankfully the day seems to be coming a little bit, but yeah, it's a bit disappointing. So again, as we end up, oh, thank goodness those enemies are gone. As we end up breaking our tools, they end up mining, like less efficient mining, less efficient kills and stuff like that. And overall, like, it's very, very cool how you can actually go into the dungeons and stuff. Usually each island will end up having at least one dungeon, a couple special items and stuff like that. And as we end up progressing a bit further, I do want to mention that let's say you end up going further and you're noticing that you're missing a lot of iron, for example, right? Now these flying enemies, I do want to point this out. As a fighter, there is actually no way of fighting flying enemies. Oh my goodness, I'm about to get killed here. That was a very big enemy. There is no way of fighting long-range enemies with a melee weapon. So you can still craft yourself a basic wand or a bow and use it, but of course you're not going to be using it as effectively as the class that is specific to that weapon type, right? But the point is that you do have the option. Loot chest. So now we're actually going to skip a little bit to the, a little bit further into the game. I'm going to swap over to my other character that I spent about 6 hours on. And I was actually playing that character heavy multiplayer with Sithis and Crichton, who I've, you know, played with before on the channel and stuff like that. So either way, I'm going to go and load that up. All right, everybody. So this is my level 11 warrior. And my goodness, he's quite powerful, but at the same time, we've actually got a very strange weapon weapon type, this fist weapon, which is very, very fast, but it's not really strong enough for the enemy types that I've been facing just on my own time willy-nilly. So anyway, we're a little bit further along here, and I want to point out this too. You can actually click on an area and you can set it as your home. Now, we actually have this level 3 Emerald Fields, which is not too far. It's actually just the third world right here, but we kind of set this up as our home. You can always click the home button, fast travel back to it, and also fast travel to any of the maps that you've actually visited before. So in a little bit, we'll actually skip ahead, and maybe for the finale, we'll end up fighting the boss. But as I was saying about the iron, with the progression, let's say you need a bunch of iron, you actually have to defeat this boss, and then these next areas end up having the next tier of like ore and plant life and stuff like that for you to actually progress your character. And then there's a second boss, and then a third boss, and one last final area, which I'm very, very curious to see. But either way, the maps, like, don't worry, you got plenty of exploration. Even if these maps are fairly tiny and you kind of get into a rhythm of completing them, still, man, it can end up getting pretty crazy. So as you can see right here, we've stolen plenty of torches, we've set up plenty of crops, and haha! We have created a castle. It's beautiful, is it not? I'm going to take a screenshot because I believe that it is. So this is our keep. It took us a very long time to create it. These statues we ended up stealing. I just wanted to show you this is a kind of example as to what you can end up building. You know, it's the standard in any voxel game, and of course ends up being quite cool, man. It's a lot of fun and really, really neat. This random bed for no reason. Also, this is so you can climb up here. But what I want to actually show you is that here's a furnace right here, and you know, iron bars, so on and so forth, and it kind of keeps going and going, and you know, gets a lot higher crafting and stuff like that. The other thing too is this right over here is actually to upgrade whatever the crafting table is. So we actually have a furnace level 2, and in order to make a furnace level 3, we need obsidian, which of course we have not ran into yet. And right now I'm actually rocking some, well, I won't say it's late game gear, it's actually kind of just mid-tier, but there is much stronger gear that we can end up creating over here at the anvil. That's what you're going to be using for most of the gear for the warrior. And you can see we got a beautiful axe right here, but we need fur. No idea where I get that yet. And iron bars like crazy. This game is very, very brutal once you end up getting to iron bars, peeps. Like seriously, the grind becomes real because everything takes iron bars, and they're very, very brutal to craft too because they cost 5 or 10 of the ore makes 1 iron bar, as far as I remember. I could be dead wrong about that. You can also see that some armor ends up having perks like this. So this one actually gives us the life force, and quality 18, quality 19. This stuff though, even though it's raider gear, which as you can see is clearly designed for like a archer character, I think you might be able to actually use it on the other characters. I'm not sure who actually knows, whatever. But the biggest thing that I wanted to show you all, where is it? Where did I hide them? I think I hid them up here, yeah. I wanted to show you the other specialized tools that you end up getting your hands on. So, including, of course, the crossbow, which we could have ended up using just a normal bow, but I just wanted to show you a little bit of the range damage. And I know that we're going on to like a fairly long video here today, people, but I just wanted to kind of clue you all in on everything that is to do with this game. So the archery is kind of very cool, where it's where you're clicking is kind of gonna end up targeting whatever the enemy is. And of course, as they end up getting closer, you can end up right click targeting, or Z targeting, let's call it, and just zapping them very, very easily. And overall, I would say if you're gonna play through this game, to play as a ranged character, because although the melee character is very fun and very cool, some enemy types definitely do not seem to be designed for it. Now this mining claw, actually, we're not going to be able to show this off. So there are sometimes you'll run into glowing stones, and that's what this mining claw specializes in, is grabbing the glowing stones. And then of course the lumberjack axe is just for chopping down trees a little bit more efficiently. And then there is this mining drill, which is specifically for dirt. And the biggest reason that it's so cool, it's got low durability, so it's not going to dig as fast. But if you end up angling yourself just right, you can dig out 4 blocks at a time. So that's amazing. And then this stone right here, this is actually how you end up repairing all of your gear and stuff like that. So it's very, very easy to repair stuff, and usually ends up costing maybe 2 stones at a time. So you'll end up going and gathering a bunch of stone. This is just what it looks like. Of course, there's base salts as well, which is a darker version of that same stone. Unfortunately, there does not seem to be any sprint button in this game. That's one big thing I would gripe about. But if you end up, I think you can just do it in your personal inventory. Yeah, and if you scroll down, you can actually get a sharpening stone resource thing. What a... Reacts to rare gems and ores. Okay, that's kind of cool. Oh, and a base salt version of it as well. I didn't even know about that. Restores 60% durability as opposed to 50. So anyway, you end up crafting these out of your stones that you got in your inventory. And then the way that it works is whatever tool we are selected to. So right now I'll click 3. We're selected to our pickaxe. No, I'll click 5, go to our mining drill. And then we click 4. And at the same time, it's going to apply the effect to whatever weapon you are currently equipped to, or tool, or whatever. So you can see that it also ends up being on the same cooldown as the potions as well. So very, very cool. And I think without further ado, we will actually end up on this boss fight here, which another thing too I want to mention that's very, very neat is you can actually grind bosses over and over and over again as much as you want, which is fantastic because although it takes us quite a while to actually get to this guy, I mean, the boss fights in this game are spectacularly awesome, dude, seriously. So if you don't want any spoilers as to this boss, I mean, here you go. He's a gigantic, beautiful worm creature. Isn't he beautiful? Look at him. So the way that he works, he's gonna be spewing acid all around us and stuff like that, and well, you can kind of end up fighting him for yourself, because I'm gonna end up saving this boss fight for when I end up getting into him into my Let's Play series, because otherwise for right now, we are definitely on time. So thank you all so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. I hope you ended up enjoying this first look video. I know we dragged on a little bit long, but I wanted to kind of clue everybody in on all the features and how this game actually operates, because it took me quite a while to actually learn how this game ends up controlling and just working out and everything like that. By the way, sneak peek, how you actually defeat this boss is by attacking his tail, not the little wormlings. And he's actually very, very difficult the first time that you end up fighting him. However, we're just dodging him very well, and he's got 3 different phases, you know, and all the other bosses do, etc., etc. Either way, I hope you found this video helpful. Links are in the description to absolutely everything. I gotta go edit this, render this, and upload this very, very quickly, because I want to have this out at a timely manner so that you can still end up catching the $13 deal that is going on right now. I don't know if it's $13 for you where you live, but either way, folks, it's on a deal right now. It's on a sale, and I would recommend buying it for sure. Even though it's early access, this game is extremely stable, operates very, very well, and I really like the direction that it's going in. And I mean, even right now, the game feels very, very complete. So if they end up even adding other stuff, I mean, that's just great. But either way, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, do not forget to Hadouken the like button for me, share, favorite, and subscribe to join Team Pixel. Sign on. Stay epic, everybody.